A spokesperson told Reuters that there can be no negotiation with North Korea until it, quote, fundamentally improves its behavior. On Tuesday, U.S. Secretary of State Rex Tillerson offered to begin direct talks with Pyongyang.
So we need the DPRK to come to the table for talks. We're ready to talk anytime they'd like to talk. But they have to come to the table, and they have to come to the table with a view that they do want to make a different choice. In the meantime, our military preparedness is strong.
Edis Tianshan is following those developments in Washington, and he joins me now. Edis, why isn't the White House backing Tillerson on this?
Well, Kilmini, this would have been a major foreign policy change for the United States, given that for the past several months, President Trump and White House has repeatedly threatened North Korea with military action unless it gives up all its nuclear arsenal. And so what seemed to be a potentially drastic policy change, we soon realized is certainly not the case. Only about 3 hours after Tillerson made those comments in a think tank here in Washington, we received an unusual statement from the press secretary, Sarah Sanders, and she emphasized that President Trump's position on this subject regarding North Korea has not changed. And she also reminded that North Korea continues to threaten not just the U.S. allies in the region like Japan and South Korea, but the entire world. So it seems that reconciliatory offer by Tillerson is no longer on the table, and it's very unlikely that the two sides might be coming to the table anytime soon.
And Edis, of course, the whole undertone of this is the fact that this is just even more evidence that Trump and Tillerson are not on the same page.
Well, exactly. I mean, in any other world, hypothetically, one could say it's not so shocking to have two leaders in the same administration to contradict each other because, you know, one could make the case that this might be a diplomatic strategy where one is playing the good cop and the other bad cop. But in this particular case, I think that would be too optimistic to assume that because, as you rightly pointed out, just recently we've seen way too many cases where these two leaders have contradicted each other publicly on this very same subject. Just back in October, President Trump tweeted that Mr. Tillerson was wasting his time trying to open diplomatic lines to Pyongyang, and we have seen this kind of public contradictions on several other subjects as well. So I think it is safe to assume that these are two leaders that generally just don't see eye to eye. And I think it's also worth mentioning that there's been widespread rumors over the last few months that Mr. Tillerson might be replaced by another Secretary of State. And while White House has so far denied those reports, this is still a very much a rumor that's still very widely spoken in the inner circles of Washington.